And then I started working, do you all know who Fido Dito is? He's a 7-Up commercials, little triangle shit guy. I started animating those commercials, and I met the creator of Fido, Susan Rose. And we have very similar styles, and she was pitching a show called Pepper Ann. Yes. So Pepper Ann looked very much like Fido Dito, and the network said, well, we don't want Fido Dito, we want something different. You should have Tom redo your drawings. So I redid the drawings, and then Pepper Ann started to form, and then that became a show. While I was at JJ Selmy Productions, I was doing all the character work for Pepper Ann from home. It was being done in California, but they would send me storyboards and scripts, and I would draw the characters, and then in the old days, fax them through. And so that was, now, when I started watching Sue make this show Bible, I started to realize, wait, I could do that too. So I started formulating ideas on how to get my own show. So I came up with an idea about a kid named Kenny who has a chimp that's a real pain in the butt. And in that short was a group of kids named the Kids Next Door who lived next door to Kenny. They were not a global organization fighting against evil supervillains yet. They were just 5 annoying kids. Now, they weren't in the pilot, so Cartoon Network liked the pilot, so they flew me out here, out to LA, and I made a 7-minute pilot. And that's where I met my good friend, Maxwell Adams, who he was working on Billy and Mandy the same time I was making Kids Next Door. So that was a long time ago, but we became friends and bonded over, like, we hope we get our own shows. I made the Kenny and the Chimp pilot. I went up to LA for 3 months, then it went overseas to be animated, and then I came back to do post-production, and then I made the show. And I kind of smelled that Cartoon Network wasn't going to make it into a series. So secretly I made a pitch about Kids Next Door, because I knew they liked those characters, and that's when I started developing, what if they're a global organization of kids fighting adults, supervillains who want to do things like raise the drinking age of soda up to 13, or make summer school year-round. So I pitched to the Cartoon Network, and they said, okay, come back out to LA and make another pilot. So I did that whole thing again. I finished the pilot, and then I said, so do I get a series? They said, no. We're making 10 pilots this year, and we're going to let the viewers decide which one becomes a show. So I had to, and mine was the first one done, so I had to wait a year before anything would happen. Now, in the meantime, Maxwell Adams had already been picked up for making Billy and Mandy, so he was already making the show. He won the first Big Pick weekend where they let viewers decide, but he only made 3. He had it easy. Easy! He's not good. The viewers picked between 3. They had to pick 10. So, for me. So, after I made the pilot, I had to wait. So I got the day I was leaving LA, I got a call from my friend Mel Willems, who was working on the 2nd season of his show, Sheep in the Big City. So I got hired as a director on that show, and I did that for a year, and then they had the Big Pick weekend. All summer long, they showed all 10 of those cartoons. They aired them nonstop, and I went online and I posted all stuff. I posted everywhere. Watch my show, watch my show. And so the weekend of the Big Pick weekend came out. I had to find out just like everyone else. They didn't call me beforehand and say you won. I had to watch. So they showed the first runner-up. So you're sitting in front of the TV, not mine, not mine, not mine. Yes, not mine. So then you have to sit through that cartoon, and then a commercial. Then the second runner-up, not mine, not mine, not mine, not mine. Yes! Then a commercial. Kids Next Door started on black, and then there was the sound of a telephone. So after a commercial, there's usually black. I was this close to the TV. My wife had me in a headlock. And all I had to hear, there was black, and all I had to hear was the first beat of that phone ring, And I just put my head down on the floor and said, crap, now I have to make it. And my wife started screaming and running back and forth, and then the phone rang forever. It was possibly one of the greatest days of my life. So, Sheep got canceled, and Kids Next Door was going to be made. So we had a great studio with Sheep. So I hired Mo as my head writer. We kept the production staff, and we mixed it all up, and we got new artists in, and we started making Kids Next Door, which, as you know, some of you have seen. It lasted for a while, and it was an amazing experience. So, Kids Next Door ended, and I got a pilot with Disney, and I started working on that. I started doing a picture book called 1,000 Times No, and I was fried. After like 6 years of Kids Next Door, like the idea of starting another show was just, my brain was leaking out of my ears. So it was exciting to have the Disney pilot, but then like most pilots, it died. And then we found out we had to move out of the apartment we were in, and there was not a lot of work going on in New York, so I thought, okay, we have to move to LA. Because really, like, if you want to get an animation, you kind of have to move to LA, because that's where all the work is. There's Nickelodeon, there's Cartoon Network, there's DreamWorks, there's Sony, there's Disney, like, all the studios are there. Especially when you get older and you have kids that want to do dumb things like eat. So I can't afford to take a couple weeks off, because then my kids are like, I want to eat. So, now that's fine when you're young and single and you can take, you're like, yes, I get 3 months off. I can't take 3 months off, because the kids want to play soccer, and that costs money. So then we moved to LA, and I started working at Disney. That once again, Maxwell Adams hired me on a show called Fish Hooks, where I was the creative director. I kind of did everything in post-production, which was an amazing experience. I think Fish Hooks had like the largest group of people that had shows before. Carl Greenblatt, who did Chowder, Tim Cone, who did Out of Jimmy's Head, Maxwell Adams, of course. So it was like really tight. Like everyone knew what they were doing. And not to say every production is fraught with craziness, but like it was one of those productions that everyone just knew how to do. So then that ended, and I sort of drifted onto a show called The 7D, which is run by Tom Ruger, who created Animaniacs, Pinky and the Brain, and they were having some trouble keeping the show on the track, so they brought me in to put the train back on the track, because I think one of my greatest talents is I'm not really good at anything. I'm kind of good at everything. Like, I can't say I'm the best director in the world. Pretty good. And I know how to tell everyone, here's what I want, here's what I need. I'm good with a team. And that's what I want to tell you something about teamwork. As an artist, as most artists are, I was not much of an athlete. I played Little League Baseball for 2 years, never got a hit once. And I begged my parents to let me stop. But somehow in college I ended up playing lacrosse, which makes no sense because it's a horribly violent game and I'm not much of an athlete. But what that experience taught me was teamwork. You're working with a team of people. You don't have to like them all, but you're working with a team of specialists, and you have to figure out, you're stuck with it. These are the people I'm working with. How do I work with these people and get the best out of them? Get the best out of yourself. So I recommend anyone, if you want to run a show, play on a team sport, because running a show is a team sport. And when you have a show, you're not really that creative anymore. You're more of a politician. You're looking at everyone else's work and saying yes, yes, no, 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 maybe, you're fired. So it's really I used to go home on the first season of Kids Next Door. I would get home every night about 9 o'clock, and I'd sit down and I would burst into tears for 30 seconds out of sheer just meltdown. Everyone's asking you questions. This is a new show. Everyone thinks you know every answer to every question about the show. And you have to. You can't say, I don't know. You have to give them an answer. Is it the right answer? Maybe not, but it's the best answer right now. And that gets overwhelming. And you make these decisions and then you think, did I just screw up my show and ruin everything? It's a lot of pressure, and it is not for everyone. Because you can be the best artist, some of the best artists I know in the world, can't talk to human beings. They're awesome, like they put their head down, they can draw, but if they had to have their own show, no, they can't talk to people. So I think what I gave up in awesome like ability to draw like Mick Ranieri or something, I got more like able to tell people what I want. So find places you can specialize in, like on your show, but then give the rest to other people. The mantra is hire people better than yourself. And in my case, that was easy. So look for it. Now, a lot of students are talking about like, I'm pitching a show to Cartoon Network. Don't do that yet. Go work on someone else's show first. As a student, you don't know what it takes to make a show yet. You don't know the pipeline. You don't know how everything works. Go and work on someone else's show. Totally screw that up. Make your mistakes on their show, not yours. Find out people on that show, like, ooh, that storyboard artist, when I get a show, I'm taking them. That designer, they're awesome. Like, find those people, because coming into it, you're not gonna, I was experienced, and I got a show, and you're still clueless. Even with all the experience in the world, you're clueless. Max Miles and I still talk to this day, like, we've been on 1 billion productions, and every time you start on a new show, it's still like no one's done this before. You would think we would all know better now, and it's still everyone's running around with their heads cut off. So, at the very least, go work on a bunch of other shows and learn how the process is done. Now, how are you going to get that show? It's harder than ever. They're making more shows than ever now, but it's harder than ever to get your show out there. And right now, what I'm telling people is make stuff. Like, it doesn't even have to be animated. Make a webcomic. Make a little short animation. Do every day for my kids. I draw a lunch bag for them, and I post it on Instagram. Just make stuff and get people interested in it. If you make stuff like superlative work, the networks are going to come to you and say like, hey, we love that you make these lunch bags. Do you have any show ideas? Like, really get your name out there and get it out there on, on Tumblr. There are great contests. Not contests, just little exercises. Like, there's a group that I guess it's called Tuesday nights or something. And everyone draws at night on Tuesday. And just do great work and see what people think about it. And who cares if it's, like, you don't want it to be terrible, but like, don't get yourself all worked up about this isn't good and no one's gonna like it. Get it out there and see what people think. I said to someone today who showed me some work, they said, they went to hand me their sketchbook and said, it's really bad. I said, no, don't ever say that. Don't put that on someone's head, in someone's head before they even look at your work. Because they might look at it and say, oh my God, this is the best sketchbook ever. But you just ruined it and said, this is awful. So go in there, and you don't have to say it's great, but say like, here's my sketchbook, I hope you like it. And then they'll look through it, and they'll tell you whether it sucks or not. I mean, they probably, hopefully they won't tell you it sucks, but they'll be polite, and they might give you some great critiques. Now, sketchbook. Who here has a sketchbook that they keep with them at all times? Come on, why not all of you? So, since high school I've been keeping sketchbooks. And it's a diary, really, of just anything and everything. A drawing Mo did that I just picked up and then I added to it with the guitar. I'm writing a book right now, and I was just beating out the story for the book. A thank you letter someone wrote me. A restaurant I went to that I really liked, that inspired me. Keep it, it doesn't even have to be drawings, it just has to be things that inspire you. So we all, as artists, we all go through these times when we don't know what to do next. And when you get stuck, like I'm in now, see how I did that? When you get stuck, you go through these little sketchbooks and you start finding things that like, hey, I like that little character there. Like just today, I went for coffee and I sat down and with my coffee and I was just sketching and I drew this little moose character and I was like, he's kind of cool, what can I do with him? Now, I'll forget about that in a couple weeks because I'll come up with some other dumb idea. But one day I'll be like, someone will say to me like, hey, got any cute little character ideas? And I'll start going through all the sketchbooks and there it is. If you don't have those sketchbooks, you don't have those ideas hanging around. Also, keep these sketchbooks and watch how your drawing evolves. Sometimes I catch myself slipping, like why were my drawings 3 sketchbooks? Like, why do I like those drawings so much? Why do I hate these? And you start to reassess your drawing. It's a muscle. Keep it going. Come up with daily exercises. By my desk, I've got a sketchbook, and I'll have a theme. So I'll do profiles. And every morning while I'm having my coffee, I'll just draw a profile of anyone and everyone. It doesn't have to be good, doesn't have to be amazing, but it has to be different from the last one I did. And you never know, that character might be your next TV show. I finished up the profile one, and now I'm doing demons. So there's a Starbucks demon, which is in a coffee cup that hangs out by dumpsters. Will I do something with that? Probably not. But now I have this little sketchbook with all these ideas. Someone says to me like, "Hey, got any demon drawings?" Why, yes. So who knows what the next topic will be? But give yourself these exercises. It's not hard to do. Like, you don't have to spend an hour on the drawing. Spend 5 minutes and just do a gesture drawing. And that's going to flex the muscle for your drawing. So, let's talk more about what else you can do to get that show. Now, if you want to have these shows and kind of save them, in your sketchbooks for when you're ready, after you've gotten that animation job that you've ruined for someone else. How do you develop that show? How do you come up with a show that no one else has done before? Yeah. It's not easy, and I don't have the answer. It's not that easy. Again, coming up with those ideas in your sketchbook is always a great way to just mine ideas. What if you're just like stuff you're interested in? Like I'm right now working on an idea for both my kids are huge soccer players. I travel to horribly boring exotic locations, hours away to watch them play games. But it got me thinking about, what if you played soccer in a league where anything goes, where you can have giant robots, you can have superpowers, you can have an army with tanks that fire soccer balls. And then you just start doodling ideas. And what's the problem now? So I've got an idea for a soccer league. What if there's a goalie who's in the league who has no powers? He has no talents, and he's in this league. How does he get through this? So that's the conflict. So that's something I'm working on now. Now, Kids Next Door, I'm going to give you a little exercise here. We're gonna write a Kids Next Door episode. And this is, again, giving yourself exercises. So, kid problems. Give me some kid problems. Raise your hand and tell me a problem that a kid has. Yes?
Vegetables.
What? Eating vegetables? Good.
Behavior.
Those obscene, you didn't raise your hand. But I'll let you go this time.
Behavior.
Behavior, okay. What about behavior? Sucking their thumb. Fighting people. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
When you collect the little toys that are in the cereal boxes, but you're missing just one.
Ah, okay.
Oh,
Yeah. Obsession with collecting something. Yep.
They don't grow up. They don't like to grow up.
They don't want to grow up. Okay. Maxwell Adams, give me one. Bad gas. Yeah. Okay. Anyone over here? No one here. You? Having to do a test you did not study for. What? Parents, okay. All right, so that's a good one. Let's take the eating vegetables. That's a good broad one. Don't like eating vegetables. Okay, so now how do you take, this is how we wrote Kids Next Door episodes. We had a wall called Purgatory, and we would just come up with kid problems. Or kid things, peanut butter and jelly, dog ate my homework, pink eye. So Pink Eye, which who saw that episode of Kids Next Door? Pink Eye. Okay, so I'll tell you that. So we had it on the wall, Pink Eye, and Mo and I went out to lunch, and I said, okay. Or Mo said, why do adults want to give kids pink eye? And I said, to harvest the crust. But what are they doing with the crust? And Mo said, making topping for apple cobbler. So right then we both went, ew, and we knew we had an episode. So we came up with a nurse. So my wife punched me when she saw the episode and said, you guys are gross. So now I told you my wife put me in a headlock and she punches me. She's not violent. Except when we moved to LA, she was violent then. Because she wanted to stay in New York. So we came up with a story about a nurse that is purposely giving kids pink eye to harvest the crust to put into big sales to make money. So we've got a vegetable. How do we make vegetables into a villain? How do you personify vegetables? So do you make a villain that's made entirely of vegetables? Do you make a giant, like we made a giant turnip for an episode. We made Grandma Stuff'em, who can make food come along. She thinks all kids should be fat and lazy so they can't get into trouble. She makes food come alive and so it'll jump down kids' throats. So they'll just get fat and lazy. So we personify that villain. So okay, give me some ideas on how we personify vegetables. A giant carrot, okay. Like one big multiple vegetable. See with just a carrot, we just got one thing. How do we make it big and more evil? So already you're thinking it's all vegetables together in one thing. What's that? I can't hear you. I'm sure it's the best idea in the universe, but I can't hear you.
Hi, do you hear me?
Huh?
Do you hear me?
What? Oh, okay, that's kind of the opposite. All right, interesting. Yep.
The pretentious vegan that wants everyone to be vegan.
Ah, pretentious vegan. All right, well, we've had a couple of those. All right, William.
Something that looks like candy that sweets like.
Oh, interesting. Looks like candy, but it's not. It's really vegetables in disguise, like Transformers. What's that? Vegetarian men. Yes, the worst. Okay, I think out of those, I like when things get super giant and horrible. So I like the idea of one giant conglomeration of every vegetable in the world. Okay, so we've got this giant every vegetable conglomeration. But what's it do? What's it doing to make kids' lives miserable? So you are a Kids Next Door operative, and you hate vegetables. Now you've got this thing. What's it doing to you? Think outside of the box. Don't just think like, oh, it's making me eat vegetables.
Probably like either like breaking all the delicious food I like, or like replacing it.
So instead, so it's going around the world and destroying every other kind of food. So it's all there is, and then it's like, I'm the only food you got. Okay, good. All right. Okay, interesting.
What if it wants people to eat vegetables, so they turn into vegetables?
So he turns them into vegetables, and then they have to eat each other? Ew, you're sick. I like you. All right. I did this with a bunch of Japanese students, and one of them came up and she said, I hate getting up in the morning. I hate getting in the morning to go to school. And she came up with this creature that came in and swallowed you, and inside of it was a giant classroom. And the kids were stuck in this monster's stomach in this classroom. And I was like, that's so good. Where were you when I needed episodes? Okay, so, which one did I like? I forget. What's that? I like the monster that's going and destroying everything in the world, all other foodstuffs, and then it just says, all you got is me now. That's interesting. So so now we've got our episode, essentially. Like now also, so what number are you? What's your, if you were a Kids Next Door operative, what number would you be? Number 7, okay, you're number 7. Number 7 is at home, and what's your favorite food? Pizza. So you're like all excited, like I'm having the biggest pizza party in the world, and you order your pizzas, and the pizza guy shows up with pizza boxes, and they're all empty. So, and then you're like, no, who did this? And you find it. So like, this is how a story evolves, and this is what you should be writing down in your sketchbooks. This is what you should be just coming up with ideas. Not a Kids Next Door idea, but like build on something. Come up with your problem. Like Kids Next Door stories were built on an evil and a super evil. So there was one about Soda. Adults want to raise the drinking age of soda up to 13. That's evil. But then we find out that the Department of Soda, Snacks, and Treats is actually bottling kids until they're 13. So they won't be annoying. They'll be adults. That's super evil. So that's, you're always looking like, how do you turn it into the next evil? How do you make this, raise the stakes each time? So write these things down. Come up with little exercises like this. If you're starting to write stories for your big show, you need to come up with it. You need to be able to say how I pitched you that soccer story. You need to be able to say in a short amount of time, here's what the show's about. Here's what a couple episodes are. Here is what my character is, and here is why they're effective. In my soccer thing, it's one kid who has no powers in a league where everyone has one. One sentence. And you can already see where the problems are. They call that an elevator pitch, because sometimes they say you're in an elevator with a big executive, and he says, give me your idea, and you got 1 second. You got to come up with that elevator pitch. You have to grab people right away. How do you get that? How do you get what your show is about in one beat? And it can't be, it's about a really optimistic sponge who lives under the sea. That's been done. 3 girls who have superpowers. Powerpuff Girls. It's been done. Yours has to be different. And it's hard. Every show in the world has been done now. How do you come up with something new? I wish I could tell you. I'm trying to do it too. So, my soccer idea, it's not the first show that's been done with, kung fu soccer powers and stuff like that. There have been shows similar to it. And there have been shows about a team of international kids who fight against bad guys. But I did it in a way that was a little different. So find out how your show is different from everything out there. Don't go to Disney and pitch them a show about the fish that live in the fish tanks. They already did fish shows. Don't pitch them a show about fish. They already did fish shows. Now, that's not to say they won't do another fish show, but it's a little too soon after they just finished. You gotta look at your networks and know what they have on the air. And once you're working on a show and you start meeting executives, you can go to them and say, what are you guys looking for? And they can say, they'll give you broad ideas. You know what? We want a sports show, or no shows about clowns. And then you're like, oh, my show is about clowns. That happens all the time, by the way. You come up with a show you love, you have 3 shows, one about clowns, pirates, and ninjas, and then you go to pitch a show, and the first thing the person says is, oh, I don't want any shows about clowns, ninjas, or what's the other one? Pirates. And then you're like, So, I'm gonna end it there. Hope I helped you, kind of get an idea of what it's like getting through. Everyone's animation story is different. Everyone's gonna get up here and tell you a different way their career took. Everyone's gonna get you a different way how they got a show. Everyone's gonna tell you a different way about how they became the lead animator on Shrek 19. There's no formula. Each of you is going to do it a different way. So the way I did it, I got a show through the Big Pick Weekend. They're not really doing that anymore. But maybe they'll do it again later. It'll all happen differently for each of you. Do it your way. You don't have to follow anything certainly, but work hard, make stuff, get yourself out there, and if you get a job, make sure that they have no reason to get rid of you. One of the most annoying things on Kids Next Door was we had probably 50 or 60 interns, and we had a game. We would tell each intern, we'd say, you're invited to a story session. Story sessions happen at 9 o'clock on Monday. Do not be late. If you are late, don't come in. And it became like a joke where all through the day we'd say hey, you're gonna be here at 9 o'clock, right? Every single one of them was late. Every one of them. And some of them would say oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't get out of bed. Fuck you. You just told your boss you couldn't get out of bed. So obviously you don't give a crap about my show. Why should I give a crap about you? Get into a show, get on, and a lot of them, if you said, hey, can you Xerox this? They'd be like, oh. Go Xerox out with the biggest smile on your face, and it's the greatest thing that ever happened to you. Because you know what? We need help. We don't need someone groaning. I have my kids to groan at me when I ask them to do something. I don't need you doing it. So be eager. Get out. Get out there. Say my best intern ever was the one who said like, hey, can I come to a recording session? I'll be quiet, I'll sit in the back. If you need me to go get coffee, I'll do it. And he did. And it was great. And he was helpful. And then he'd say like, hey, can I come to a sound effects session? Sure. And he was always helpful. And he was always good at what he did. He was always eager. And eventually, like when his internship was up, we hired him as my assistant. And he got to like help out on everything. And now he's a supervising producer on a DreamWorks television show. Just get out there and want to learn and be helpful. Don't get any attitude, don't think why am I directing after a week? There's some people that think that way. Get out there, make shows, great, make, even if it's not animation, make comics, make stuff, make a great show, and then hire me to work on it. Okay? Thank you for listening. You're all awesome. And some of the Disney people, I think they're up next, and they're awesome. I had, because just to show you what a fanboy I am, I had Andrew, so I don't have to fill out my own sketchbook, I have other people do stuff. Where is it? Don't go anywhere. Right? Yeah. And then Nick Renner drew. So I'm just as much as a fanboy as you weirdos. So don't be ashamed. So thank you guys for listening. I'll be around all weekend. We've been doing drawings in the back room and stuff. Like if anyone wants a drawing, you'll get it at some point. But I probably shouldn't have said that because now I'm doing drawings for the rest of my life. But I love all of you. Thank you.